And joining us now is our correspondent in Tehran, Reza Sayah. Reza, what can you tell us about these protests?
When you have protests like this in Iran, it's oftentimes very difficult, sometimes impossible to verify exactly how big they are, how widespread they are, and exactly where they are, especially when they're outside of Tehran, because we simply don't have access to these locations and we can't independently verify what's happening. However, with the limited information we have, let's tell you what we do know. Over the past 24 hours, we've seen an increasing number of video clips posted online, posted on social media, showing demonstrations and protests in at least two southern cities in the southern province of Khuzestan. In these protests, you see demonstrators sometimes chanting anti-government slogans against current Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi. Sometimes the protests are turning violent. When you look at these video clips, you see rioters burning tires and security forces responding by firing tear gas in an effort to disperse the demonstrators. Very limited reporting by Iran state media. One of the few reports we saw earlier today said that 22 demonstrators have been arrested. Why are people angry? Because of sudden price hikes when it comes to basic food items. The government announcing price hikes with four basic food items, including cooking oil, eggs, chicken, and milk. Other food items, including sandwich bread, pasta, flour, they've gone up as well. And the reason for these sudden price hikes are twofold. On one hand, these price hikes are part of Iran's efforts to reform the economy, to get rid of very costly subsidies. The other reason is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Both Russia and Ukraine, major suppliers of food to Iran. Russia supplies at least half of Iran's wheat supply. Ukraine supplying Iran with a lot of cooking oil. Obviously, the conflict there disrupting some of those supplies, and that too has led to some of these sudden price hikes.
Well, Reza, the whole country, I imagine, is dealing with these rising food prices. So how likely are these protests to spread, and how is the government responding?
It's hard to say how these protests are going to unfold. They certainly could spread. You'll recall in 2019, when the government raised gas prices, you saw protests spreading very quickly. Some of the largest protests since the revolution in 1979, and that protest turned deadly. Could this happen again? It's certainly possible. We'll keep our eye out in the coming hours and days. The government doing what it can to reassure people, ease frustrations. They've promised every Iranian the equivalent of about 14 euros a month in cash handouts. They're also trying to reassure people by making statements saying this is necessary to reform the economy. Obviously, that hasn't eased everyone's anger, because some people are protesting. We'll see what happens in the coming days.
Okay, our correspondent in Tehran, Reza Sayah. Reza, thanks as always.